Regular business meeting being held on October 17th at 7 p.m. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and presentation of colors by our... I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join us in a moment of silence as we reflect on those serving in the United States Armed Forces, both past and present, the elected leaders of the state of Pennsylvania and the elected leaders of our nation. We have much to be thankful for. Thank you. Please be seated.
Ready, face, forward, march.
Okay. They always jump the gun. I'm supposed to say present colors, and they jump it. Yeah, so that. All right. All right. Executive session announcement 3.1. The Board of Directors met on the following dates in executive session to discuss in one or more of the following areas: personnel and legal matters, October 17th, 2022, and there was a Billard workshop held on September 26th, 2022. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Stout for the superintendent's report.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Friel. So first, want to welcome Hayden Street, Student Council Executive President. So Hayden, you'll start with your report tonight. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So this school year has gotten off to a great start at the high school. Remarkably, there are only 3 weeks left in the first quarter. Last week, 10th and 11th grade students took the PSAT exam, while 9th grade students participated in a half-day event focused on their well-being. We would like to express our sincere appreciation to the high school PTSA who helped to make this event possible. Our fall athletes are in the midst of competing in their championship events. We are celebrating homecoming with spirit days throughout the coming week, a pep rally on Friday afternoon, a football game on Friday evening, and the homecoming dance on Saturday. We have many exciting events coming up in the weeks ahead, including Challenge Day, the Veterans Day recognition and luncheon, and the Powder Puff football game. Middle school students are excited for homecoming week, and they will be participating in numerous fun activities as well. In addition to showing their spirit by participating in each of the themed spirit days, students will earn points for their respective grade level teams throughout the week by participating in a variety of activities, accumulating in some team competitions in the gymnasium on Friday. Many of our middle school students are also participating in our annual fundraiser. They are excited to earn prizes and can also earn the right to participate in other awards, such as our bingo party and field trip to the trampoline park. Finally, students have been bringing in canned goods and non-perishable items in support of Make a Difference Day. Not only does this benefit the Coventry Food Pantry, but as a bonus, each item a student brings in provides them with one vote for the teacher they'd most like to see get pied in the face. The elementary schools are also enjoying the opening of the 2022-2023 school year. Teachers continue to focus on routines and expectations throughout the school day, and teachers are well into our benchmark assessments, which are vital to our instructional programming. Additionally, students are experiencing a bit of normalcy with school-wide assemblies and field trips and are beginning to get excited for the REA-sponsored trick-or-treat event and individual school Halloween festivities. Lastly, the elementary schools wanted to express their gratitude to parents for their unwavering support for each of the parent-teacher organizations, school programming, volunteerism, and most importantly, their children. Together, we are all moving in the right direction.
Great, thank you, Hayden, for that report. Appreciate it. Tonight, we're also recognizing the National Merit Scholarship semifinalists and students who received letters of commendation, as well as the high school language department and the middle school art program. So, Dr. Soder, turn it over to you.
So good evening, board members. Mr. Kohler could not be here tonight, and I told him that we would take care of these students. So it is a great privilege to introduce you to this year's National Merit Scholarship winners, our semifinalists. So when you hear your name, if you would please come up front. And I really appreciate it when you stand right in front of the board. It makes for a really good picture. All those times that I'm sitting there and trying to scoot you all over. So if you could come right up to the front. So our first semifinalist is Maxwell Dulay. Sarah Ewing. Vaishniva Komera. We also have students who we are going to be congratulating for receiving letters of commendation in recognition of their outstanding academic promise. Lillian Blantz. Is Elena Crew here tonight? No? Okay. Olivia Kerr. Let's see, Grace Lewinsky? No? Okay. And I think Calliope Mullen is joining us via Zoom. Maybe? Great. And if not, we certainly want to recognize those students who could be here tonight. Congratulations again. We also have 2 staff recognitions. Our high school language department received the Pennsylvania State Modern Language Association Golden Globe Award. This is part of an 11-part rubric that the department needs to demonstrate their proficiency in every other year. So a very big congratulations to our world language teachers. And to accept this award is the World Language Department Chair, Audrina Andres. And certainly last but not least, we want to recognize our middle school art program for receiving the Pennsylvania Art Education Association Outstanding Visuals Community Award. And I believe that we have Gretchen McGinnis here, if not Corbin and Jennifer. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have one retirement I'd like to announce this evening, Holly Ham, who is not attending. Holly has served the district for 32 years and 10 months as a paraprofessional at North Coventry Elementary School. Holly will drop everything to help others in need and has always been child-centered and focused on providing the best support for her students. Holly cares deeply about her colleagues and has been a team player in and day out, and her work ethic is a model for others. Holly's professionalism is top-notch, and she constantly makes fun and has a knack for motivating students. We wish Holly the best in retirement. The Chester County Health Department is hosting its annual flu clinic on Thursday, October 20th at our middle school. Town hall meetings for Owen J. Roberts parents and residents will be held on Tuesday, November 1st at the Henrietta Hankin Library in West Vincent Township, and Monday, November 7th At the East Vincent Township Building, school board members and the OJR administrators will be in attendance to discuss district goals and priorities and answer questions from the community members. Additional information will be sent to families and posted on the district website and social media platforms later this week. Listening sessions for families of students enrolled in our special education programs will be held on Wednesday, December 7th at the middle school and December 14th via Zoom. A communication with more details will be forthcoming from our Pupil Services Department. Homecoming weekend kicks off on October 22nd with a pep rally in the afternoon, the football game versus Methacton High School, and ending with the homecoming dance on Saturday, October 22nd. As a reminder, November 8th is a professional development day, so there is no school for students on November 8th. The middle school is a designated poll location for Election Day. Our annual Veterans Day celebration will be held on Friday, November 11th at the high school, with other celebrations being held throughout the district. Further details can be found on the district website. Lastly, we are continuing with our work on gathering information and evaluating school start times in the school district for the 2023-24 school year. The school start time committee met on September 22nd, and a community forum was held on October 6th to share information about school start times and receive questions from the public. Our committee is scheduled to meet again this week. Please access the School Start Time Committee webpage from the district's main webpage, to review the sleep research, meeting agendas, and presentations done thus far on this topic. It's time, Mr. Friel, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Stout. Just a note for the community, we're going to take a short 5-minute intermission here. We're going to go thank our merit scholarships for student recognition, and then we'll join you guys back in here in about 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. All right. We'll thank our students. Thank you, everybody, for allowing us to go out there and take some pictures with our students and recognize our merit scholars. So it's just something we appreciate doing. So with that, I'm going to go into item 5, which is public comment. And there are 2 opportunities for public comment. The first section is for information, proposals, and statements from individuals or delegations pertaining to items on the agenda that are going to be voted on tonight. The speakers are to please indicate your name, township of residence, and the items on the agenda to which your comments are addressed. Speakers will be limited to not more than 3 minutes. Please understand it's not a time for dialogue with the board. Rather, the board will listen to all comments and consider them in future deliberations. The second section will be at the end of the meeting and is for residents to speak on any item. Also, if you have a question for the school board, please email all the board or school directors at schoolboardmembers@ojrsd.net, and you can get a written response back from us there. If you're on Zoom and would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand function. When it's your turn to speak, please state your name and township of residence as well. And before that, I'm going to recognize Brian. You are.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and the board, I've been advised that there is a gentleman here this evening who would like to put on the record an objection as to a perceived violation of the Sunshine Act. And with that, I'll recognize Mr. George Uhas. Mr. Uhas, would you like to make your statement?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening, Owen J. Roberts. I was here last meeting and tried to stop an unlawful meeting. I believe this is the same thing. My objection is I'm going to give a violation with specificity. I'm going to give the codes or the law that was violated. I'm going to offer the remedy, and then or ask for you to deny if you guys feel as though there's been no violation. So it's basically this: anywhere, this is the violations with specificity. Anywhere you see the word report on the agenda, I should have a copy of that report for myself in attendance. And that's according to the Sunshine Law in section 709 and your school policy 903. So anytime you see a performance analysis, I should have a copy of that, and so should all your residents, so they can make informed speak about what you guys are going to deliberate on. So whatever you had the right to view, that you made your deliberation on, they had the right to view it. Not being able to view it is a First Amendment violation for them, because they can't speak properly on what you guys are deliberating on. So my violation is basically this. The only remedy I can think of is to go get a copy of all the reports analysis and bring them to us to continue the meeting. That would be one remedy. Adjourning and coming back to the next meeting when you have all this information available in attendance for everybody, or you're going to have to deny this objection saying that all the pertinent information is available to me. And this is all that's available to me right now. So before you make your denial, just know I don't have all the pertinent information according to Sunshine Law 709 and your school policy, which would be maladministration 903.
Thank you. Mr. Uhas, is that the full
Yes, sir.
sentence?
That's the end of it. You'd like to deny that I have all the pertinent information. You can deny that I have it all.
Mr. Uhas, I'm going to deny your objection. I'm going to advise the board that this proceeding has been lawfully commenced under the Sunshine Act and may proceed. I welcome you the opportunity to submit any legal authority for your position to me. You can submit it to Dr. Stout, and he'll get that to me, and we'll further correspond with you
Very good.
regarding your objection.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, I'll open it up to then for public comment on board items.
Hi, Colleen Blute, North Coventry, East Coventry Township. Agenda item 13.1. On October 10th, I attended the committee meeting and was very disappointed in the manner in which the district goals at this meeting were handled. The process that evening seemed to be a lack of understanding of the school board process and what the school board needs to be doing with the goals. The administration was supplying you, the board, with a list of goals for you to approve. So they, the administration and the teachers, could go back, find the research-based documents that they needed, and apply the percentages. It was obvious to me and others that you were unsure of this process. Your job as the school board, the governing body of this district, is to ensure the community that the district and its staff are providing OJR students with an appropriate education. The board needed to simply listen to the key ideas for the goals, approve those goals as written, or modify them as needed, and send them back with Dr. Stout so that his team could find the research-based data that they needed, which was probably at their fingertips, and provide that percentage. With the board spending almost 25 minutes discussing percentage and requesting data from administration specific to a goal was not a well-thought use of time, even for a working session, especially when it was so specific. The board needed to, be more concerned about the verbiage, which was what the administrative team was looking for, I think, for approval on. The goals tonight, as I read them, contain what the board needs to again approve and make sure that there are research-based data documents and the percentages are there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any Zoom comments?
We have no Zoom public comment.
All right.
Okay. Heather McCurry, East Coventry, and I just want to echo the comments about the goals, what Colleen Blute said, that I agree with her completely. She took the words out of my mouth, oddly, that I would say, because I've been up here a lot about goals, and that was a lot of time the other night where I felt it could have been better used, because you guys should have learned about that before you came out here. And I realize that some of you are new, but I can't accept on behalf of myself and the other people in this community not moving this district forward. And so with the goals, to do the goals there, but also you guys are not even getting to actual individual areas with the committee goals, which is something that we used to do with the board. So I wish that you guys could take that and move this forward to progress this district further. With regard to the town hall comment, I have to say that I think that there's a certain level of accountability with that I myself am impressed that you're having the town halls, but only if you guys do something with it, right? Because I look at it and say, yep, it's an election year, right, in a couple of weeks, and both those town halls are being held before the election year. So I feel that that is one of the reasons why they're being held. And we've had so many meetings here. We've had communications audit. We've had a sleep study that has gone on for almost 7 years, right? And people have come in a feasibility study, and zero action has happened from the result of the community coming out and giving it their all. They're like, yep, town hall, we're going to come out, and zero happens. The sleep study is probably the biggest one, but also full-time kindergarten was another one, and the feasibility study, because I've gone through my notes and I still don't see any place where the library and the LGI are referenced. The last thing, I'm not sure, because I do recognize you guys did put more things in the agenda so that we look at it. I don't see the follow-up on changing the health and PE requirements. So if that is not on here, I would thank you. If it is on here, I think I've said that a bazillion times that I disagree with that, and you guys need to do more work on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is any Zoom comments? All right. All right. Agenda item 6, board committee reports, working sessions. The working session was held on October 10th, 2022 at 6 p.m. The following committees met: Finance, Building and Grounds. With that, I would like the committees to report back. Chester County Intermediate Unit.
The Chester County Intermediate Unit Board last met on September 21st at 7:30 p.m. We got updates about the start of school for our 3 TCSH high schools, the technical college high schools, and Brandywine Valley Academy, and other updates from departments at the CCIU about programs for the 2022-2023 school year. Our next meeting is this Wednesday, October 19th at 7:30 p.m. Thank you.
Curriculum and Special Education, Ms. Sabo.
The curriculum committee met for a workshop on September 26th. The committee learned about Linkit, which is a new software to assess students and manage student data so that teachers can provide instruction and interventions. The committee also reviewed the process used to revise current curriculum for ELA. Dr. Monahan will be reviewing ELA curriculum revision process and taking feedback from parents and community members. He is scheduled to attend the upcoming PTA and PTO meetings in all the schools. He last week was at East Coventry. North Coventry will be on October 18th, the middle school November 8th, the high school November 10th, French Creek November 15th, West Vincent December 13th, and East Vincent on January 10th. The curriculum staff is preparing for the next professional development day on October 24th. Much of the focus of the day is on Linkit training and starting the professional development of the school core teams for Universal Design for Learning. Special education will be meeting at the next working session for and discussing the parents' survey from the cyclical monitoring update. We'll be having listening sessions for our special education, IEP, gifted students, gifted parents, and 504 on December 7th in person and December 14th virtually. And we are scheduled to meet as part of the board working session for the curriculum meeting also on the 14th. Changes to the high school program of studies will be on that agenda as well. Thank you.
Finance and Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Hermanos.
The Finance, Buildings and Grounds Committee met in the working session on October 10th, and we discussed relooking at the feasibility study for the long-term physical planning of the Owen J. Roberts School District, and then also tonight we've got a few agenda items on the docket. So agenda item 13.8, just to review that. On July 11th, 2022, Act 57 was signed into law, amending the local tax collection law. Act 57 now requires school districts to waive the penalty fee, interest, and other charges when new homeowners do not receive a bill notice within the first year of owning a property. Prior to Act 57, a taxpayer who claimed they did not receive notice to their real estate taxes was not relieved from paying the penalty, fee, interest, and other charges that may have accrued as a result of their failure to pay in a timely manner. Pursuant to Act 57, a school district must adopt a resolution within 90 days of the effective date on or before January 7th, 2023, a resolution must be passed requiring a tax collector to waive additional charges as mentioned above. These waivers are applicable for taxes addressed in the first year after October 11th, 2022, the effective date of Act 57. For most schools, this means it will not apply until the 23-24 school tax year. And then agenda item 1311 is regarding the school bus cameras. And we are waiting for intergovernmental agency agreements from both North Coventry and, we have them with North Coventry and East Coventry already. We're still waiting for these agreements from East Vincent and West Vincent supervisors. They need to approve these agreements for us to then implement our plan for the school bus cameras. Thank you.
Legislation and Policy Committee.
The Legislative and Policy Committee met on September 12th as part of the working session, and there are policies for second reading on the agenda for tonight under 13.4, 13.5, and 13.6.
And last but not least, our Personnel Committee.
Personnel Committee has not met since the last regular business meeting.
All right, agenda item 7, recommended routine matters. May I have a motion for to approve recommended routine matters consent items 7.2 through 7.8? I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 8, recommended routine matters. This is acknowledgement of receipt of donations, contributions, and gifts. Need a motion to accept as presented. East Vincent Elementary School, $355 from PTA for the class trip for first grade, $750 for the kindergarten class trip to Olzanoski Farm. French Creek Elementary School, Catherine Stam, $130, purchase of library books. Coca-Cola Give, community members chose to donate to OJR through their product purchases. French Creek Elementary, $49. And then finally, the Owen J. Roberts Education Foundation has made several significant contributions, $532 for the library story path, $512 for the flexible seating grant, $82 for the floor cushions, $1,143 for the Peace Place classroom kits, $413 for the library marketplace materials, $491 SEL books, $449 electronic keyboard, $341 equipment and tech for annual studies, $263 veterinary career supplies, and on the district STEAM program, $5,800. So thank you very much to ONJ Education Foundation and all our donors. Can I have a motion to acknowledge the receipt of those donations?
So moved.
Motion, second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of routine matters, consent items 9.1. Can I have a motion to approve 9.2 through 9.3 routine consent items?
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 10, board discussion. All right. Any discussion items for the board? All right. We will keep it moving. Old business. Is there any old business, Dr. Soder?
There is none.
There is no old business. New business. 12.1. Before I go to 12.1, I just want to make a note on this motion that there's a correction to one of the items. Sheila Amade's correct resignation date is October 18th, 2022, not October 19th. So if we'll just make that correction, and that will be then what we're approving tonight. So the board will make a motion to file the following personnel matters, which are items 12.2 through 12.1 as action 12.11 as action consent items subject to the proviso that I just presented. The board reserves the right to reduce and/or discontinue any appointment and payment herein should any further events, whether known or unknown, make it impossible or impractical to implement a particular extracurricular activity. May I have a motion?
So moved.
A motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. New business, item 13, approval of the 22-23 district goals as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, you have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion?
I just have a quick comment. As we approve the district goals, I would like to find a way to just revisit these, not revisit to rework them, but just basically to have some sort of accountability that we're on track to meet these goals. So I'm wondering if we could look at some point in the new year, whatever timeline that makes the most sense, January, February. I would like to benchmark where we are at that point in the year against these goals. I don't want to just approve these tonight and then wait till June to find out where we are with the goals.
I second that. I think that makes perfect sense to do that. I think so. We'll ask the administration to provide an appropriate milestone date, whether it be January, February, and give us a presentation to the board on the goals, to date herein. And I do appreciate everybody's, that working session. I think we had a very good collaboration talking about the materiality of these goals. And I appreciate the administration going back and looking at these goals and coming back to the board with these. And I'm happy with the progress we made in the collaboration here. So with that, if there are no more comments.
Yeah, actually, just as far as accountability is concerned and drawing pieces together so that the board and the public understand what activities we are doing throughout the year correspond to what goals. I know in the CCIU agenda during a board meeting, they will actually have things called out. If something aligns with a goal, it'll be right there on the agenda to state which goal it's specifically aligned with. So that's just a suggestion. If we have activities in the future that clearly align with one of the goals, that you could perhaps use that mode of communication.
Yeah, awesome. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.3, approval out-of-state overnight trips. The approval of out-of-state overnight student trips as presented.
Mr. Frill, you missed one.
Oh, I did? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, down here at the bottom, 13.2. I even brought my reading glasses. Sorry, okay. 13.2, approval of conference attendance. Approval of conference attendance as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, can I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.3, approval of out-of-state overnight student trips. Can I have a motion?
I'll motion.
A motion, come second.
Second.
A second, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.4, ratification of board exception to policy 202. Need a motion of ratification of the exception of policy 202 as presented. A motion?
So moved.
Motion, I have a second.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.5, approval of policies for second reading. Approval of policies for second reading from the Legislation and Policy Committee from the September 12th, 2022 working session. Can I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
A second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval, 13.6, approval of policies for deletion for second reading. So I'm looking for a motion for approval for policies for deletion second reading from the Legislation Policy Committee from the September 12th, 2022 working session. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.7, approval of an independent contractors agreement. Approval of an independent contractors agreement with Lori Vanderbilt LLC, Pennywell Court, Exton, PA, effective October 18th, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, to provide specialized instruction per student's IEPs using the Wilson Reading System at a cost of $95 a session for an individual student or $70 a session student. If a group of 2 or more, and $65 an hour for an additional service required by the district as presented. This agreement may be extended for an additional year by mutual agreement of the parties if the district requires these services. Final approval effective date is pending receipt of all required paperwork. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion, can I have a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.8, approval of resolution. Approval of resolution of the Owen J. Roberts School District Board of Directors involving Act 57 of 2022 as presented. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, can I have a second? Have a second? Any discussion?
I just have a question about this. I know Mr. Hermanos just explained this, but if there's an Act 57 that was passed, signed into law, why do we have to adopt a resolution? And there must be something we have to do every year if it's a law already?
And I believe this was at the working session, Mr. Crumrice, but it's actually in the law that each school board has to pass this resolution. So when the legislature wrote it, we have no choice in this. So it's in the law written that we have to pass this.
And if we don't do it, what happens?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean, the law is good, so, we would do it anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just
Okay.
a hurdle.
It's not yearly, too. It's just,
It's not yearly, it's like one time?
right.
It's
Yeah.
permanent until
Oh,
you
permanent,
take further
okay.
action to rescind it.
yeah. And this is eliminating a potential, not that we do this, but a tax penalty fee that if a district would decided to do that. So it's taking that away. So, all right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.9, approval to establish a student activity. Approval to establish a student activity club in accordance with provisions of Section 511 of the Pennsylvania School Code and School Board Regulation 122A and/or 22B as presented. This approval also provides the establishment of the accounts within the student activity accounting system when applicable. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Just a question on this one, too. I noticed that the debate club did not have an advisor named, unless I'm not seeing it on this. So I'm just wondering, can this club be approved without an advisor? Or what's the rule on that?
I'll defer to Dr. Stout on that one.
That's a good question. I guess we can have the club approved as a recognized club, but we can't run a club without an advisor.
I see that it was signed by one of our teachers, so I don't,
That's not the student's name?
no, that's Mrs. Bonner.
Who's the requester then?
That's Mary Rita Bonner. She's
Oh,
one of
wait,
the-
sorry. Where's the signature? I
Yes,
see
Mary
Mary
Bonner,
Rita.
yes. When I
and
looked at
see a
that
building
earlier.
principal.
So above that, request submitted by, is a member of our staff.
Oh, so that's not the student who wants to request. Okay, so there does not need to be a student requesting the club? I'm just, when I read the other club, I thought the other request was signed by the student that wanted to, and then the advisor was written in. I'm not really understanding exactly what the procedure is for a club. Does a student need to request it and then an advisor, or?
Do you use a petition format to provide clubs if there is student interest, like a certain number of students have to say, we would like a club, and then a kind of a hunt for an advisor begins?
So students do make requests, and as long as there is a teacher to supervise, then the club can exist. This is also part of, a teacher can make that request as well and then try to get students to join. And then there's a separate process if the students want to have an activity account. But I can ask Mrs. Crumrine to follow up with this particular request in board line regarding if it was initiated by a student or a teacher.
Okay, and because, does that mean that this Mary Rita Bonner is actually going to be the advisor? Or it doesn't, you know what I mean?
Let me just see, because she's texting me.
You could just check into that for me.
Yeah.
So that I understand
If we
that.
vote it and we make it so, she has to be the advisor. Sorry, Mary.
She's committed to it.
I don't see a place on the form that requires an advisor name.
I didn't either, but
It was written in
I just
on the
noticed
other
that
form.
that the student wrote it in, so that's why that just got my attention. I didn't really understand the form exactly.
Is it a funded club? Does the advisor receive a stipend?
Oh, I would have to look in the supplementals, so it's possible that the advisor, if it was for supplemental, it's possible that the advisor was already approved. But as I say, I can ask Mrs. Crumrine to give the specifics for this one in board line if you wish.
It's a great club, and they plan to do fundraising, so.
If they're asking for a student account, then yes.
Yeah, and generally on the stipend on the teacher, if the club exists for more than 3 years, then they can go back and apply in that under the RA. So if it's an existing club that's shown that it's sustainable, that's when it can go back in and get the teacher, or there's some flexibility with some flex stuff.
Thank you.
But both of these clubs under item number 8 show that they will not be requesting funds from the general fund, so they're basically independently operating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we all good? Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 3.10, approval of student activity club or advisors and student officers. Approval of student activity club advisors and student officers in accordance with the provisions of Section 511 of the Pennsylvania School Code for 22-23 school year as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
A second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 1311, approval ratification of personnel service maintenance agreements. Can I have a motion for the approval ratification of professional service maintenance agreements as presented?
So moved.
Motion, can I have a second?
Second.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 14, public comment. So as we said before, there's 2 opportunities for public comment. The first section was the information based on what we were voting on tonight. The second section is any item that pertains to the school district in general. Speakers are to indicate your name, township of residence, and the item on the agenda. I'm sorry. You do not have to indicate item agenda. This one's going to be right there. Speakers will just let us know their name and township of residence, and speakers will be limited to not more than 3 minutes. Please understand this is not a time for dialogue with the board. Rather, the board will listen to all comments and consider them in future deliberations. If you have a question for the school board, please email school board directors at schoolboardmembers@ojrsd.net to receive a response. If you are on Zoom, please, and would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand function. And when it is your turn to speak, Please state your name, township of residence. All right, with that, I'll recognize for public comment.
Heather McCurry, East Coventry. So I will address, well, we can address you individually, but I would say to some of you that I've talked to and sent things to, I actually send you guys stuff, and I hear back from a couple of you. I know the ones that I do not, which would probably be Mr. Friel. So on the topic of what you guys were talking about, that's exactly the goals. And on topic of the clubs, that's why we worked really hard at the end of 2017 to bring back the extracurricular committee, so you guys would actually have a body in which to govern and do the things you're now asking questions about, right? Because I think I would learn from this gentleman to, I object, School Board President Mr. Friel, to you talking about how things work in the district when you don't know how they work. So with the clubs, what is very sadness here is the kids actually do come up with tons of ideas, and they're told, you have to go find an advisor, but the problem is there are no advisors to do that, and then you find people that volunteer their time, sometimes like me, or you have kids that are very persistent, like restarting the Motto UN Club, and they have to work to do this, which seems really kind of ridiculous in a school district that has the funds and the talent here and has things like, I think I actually sent this to some of you about incorporating young alumni or high school kids that have service obligations that would go down into the elementary schools. Like my favorite was the robotics, because from school to school, and I have not taken the time, I have my own day job here, but to look back, somebody asked me, like, do all the elementaries have the same clubs? You know, that goes to your equity term, right? So you guys have to understand that you are the ones that get to set the policy. You guys get to do it. And most of it comes back to goal setting. That is one of the things by statute, by law, that school board directors can do, right? So with the goal setting, you guys asked questions tonight. You asked about where are they? I don't understand what's happened here, right? In 2017 to 18, we made sure that goals were put up under the superintendent, about us drop down. Board lines were aligned to have the goals, and the information under the board lines that you get every Friday are actually underneath the goals, right? Like safe, caring environment, and it had information about what you were doing. For example, we worked together to get everybody in here for the homecoming dance. This is what we are going to do, falls under the goals, because one of you guys asked that sitting here, how do we know what activities are being done? That is literally all up to you. In 17, we had a goal writing workshop for the board and for the administration of this district. You guys can ask for one, right? You guys can do whatever you want. So you guys really need to work on that and understand that, because my heart hurts for the kids in this district when they could have more, but you guys are in control of that, right? And so you guys are asking the questions now and getting back to those ideas. But this is to my comment in the beginning. If you're going to bring people in and have town halls, like the rallying for the feasibility studies was so large,
Thank
right?
you, Heather. Thank you.
And then nothing ever happened from it. Please don't waste everybody's time by doing that unless you mean it.
Thank you, Heather.
Brooks Rowland, Warwick Township. I wasn't able to attend the last working session, but I did look into the financials. And if my memory serves me correct, we're looking at spending about $78 million over the next 7 to 10 years in capital costs, capital investments. A lot of things I agree with there. We obviously, the expansion of classrooms, the expansion of the cafeteria. But last year we had a meeting with parents, and a lot of parents talked about other opportunities within the school district. Right now we see as a country the trades are suffering. I do know we have a trade school, right? We can take our kids and we can send them to a trade school. But part of the education is giving the children the opportunity to try a little bit of everything, not just what we think is important, but other things. You know, there's a lot of people that are very successful that didn't go to college because that's not what they want to do. I would like for you to go from that feasibility study to look if there's opportunities for us to bring at least some low-level kind of introductions to some of the trades. I mean, when we all went to school, we had shop. We had those things. We learned how to build with our hands. I'd take my children out to the garage and we build stuff. Give the kids that really broad experience, so when they go in and decide what they want to do, it's not everything pushing them to college. The other question I have is, I really, it's just a comment. I was really hoping with the goals to see a little bit more engagement, interaction. When you set goals, you have to know how you're going to test them. You have to know how you're going to measure them. When I read the goals, I can kind of see the high level, but I don't understand as a parent what is truly going to be delivered to my student at the end of the day. And how is that going to be measured? I would like for see the board say, you know what, maybe we're not ready to pass the goal today, because we've got to make sure for passing the goal, there's a way for us to measure it. So unfortunately, I'm a little disappointed in the fact that we passed the goals in the current status, because there's no way for us to know if we're hitting the mark or not. So, thank you.
It's in there.
Good evening, George Uhas again.
Mr. Uhas, you're stating a specific objection on the
No, sir, no, I'm not doing objection. I'm not doing objection. I'm here on the Commonwealth. So I'm just here to speak on the Commonwealth.
I'm sorry, for public comment, it's only a taxpayer or a resident. If you have a specific objection on the Sunshine Act, I'll
Very good.
allow you to articulate that, but otherwise.
Very good. So on the objection that I made earlier, it's the same objection. I decided not to stop you guys 42 times, which I want you to understand, I could have stopped you 42 times. I counted 42 reports, analysis, and summaries I should have had available to me at that table. So my objection is extended to 42 times. And if there's anybody else who wanted to add on to that, if there was 10 people, it would be 10 times 42 violations. This is factual. As individual school board members, you must know the law. There's no ignorance of the law. It's not an excuse. He can give you advice, and he's probably a good attorney, but if he gives you bad advice and you take it, you're held accountable, not him. So you guys got to go know that rule. There's no reason why pertinent information can't be available up here. This is one of the largest budgets, yet smallest agendas I've ever seen. So that's 42. So my goal next time is to actually object at every single line. So that would have been 42 objections from the time that I stopped talking till now, which probably would have extended this meeting by at least an hour. And I have stamina to do it. And this is the second meeting you guys didn't follow through. So I understand you're probably going to deny it again, that you didn't not supply me with all the pertinent information. But the fact is, if it says report, where's my report? So again, he's probably going to deny me, correct?
That would be correct, Mr.
Okay, very good. I'm going to
Uhas,
sit down. You guys have a good evening. Next time, I'm going to stop at every single point. You all have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, do we have other community members that want to make public comment?
Walter Guys, East Vincent Township. This is a book called Always Aaron. When I was a little girl, 2 men hurt me. I was scared that the hurt might happen again. I thought the hurt happened because I was a girl. I decided not to be a girl anymore. I'm a boy, I said. I told my mom I was a boy. Mom said I could pretend to be a boy. She let me wear my brother's old clothes. I told my teacher I was a boy. She told me I could play with the building blocks and toy trucks. I told my classmates I was a boy. They teased me. I told my friend I was a boy. She told me I was weird and she didn't want to play with me anymore. One time, a bunch of kids ganged up on me. They pushed me into the boys' bathroom. They all laughed at me, but I didn't care. I wanted to use the boys' bathroom. My teacher worried about me. She saw that I was lonely and sad. My teacher asked me to talk to another grown-up at my school. She was a school counselor. I told the counselor I was a boy. I told her that boys were stronger. I told her that boys were smarter. I told her that boys had everything better than girls. The counselor told me she understood how frustrated I felt because I was a girl. She taught my mother and my teacher ways to help me manage my difficult feelings. My mother took me to an adventure group with other girls. We tied knots. We visited the fire station. We hiked up the mountains. We studied the clouds. My stepdad took me to a class where I learned how to shoot a rifle. I memorized all the parts of my gun. I cleaned my gun. I practiced all the rules for gun safety. I shot at target right in the middle of a big red circle. My teacher taught me about strong women who did great things. Madame Curie was a scientist who discovered radioactivity. Rosa Parks fought for civil rights for Black Americans. Helen Keller learned to read and write, even though she couldn't hear, speak, or see. Sacagawea led the early American explorers named Lewis and Clark to the Pacific Northwest. I went to a therapist almost every week. I talked about feelings like girls aren't safe. I talked about being ashamed of my body. I talked about not wanting to be hurt again. At school, I went to a group with other kids who were angry and sad and lonely like me. One boy talked about how he had been hurt by the same way I was hurt. He said he didn't want to be a boy because he was scared the hurt might happen again. The boy was ashamed of himself because of the hurt. He thought the hurt happened because he was a boy. I realized that sometimes girls get hurt and sometimes boys get hurt. Being a boy wouldn't stop me from being hurt again. Over time, I learned that no matter how much I wanted to be a boy, I was a girl. I would grow up to be a woman. I wonder what kind of woman I would be. A scientist, an explorer, a firefighter, a teacher, a mother, a hunter, maybe even a woman who fights for girls' and women's rights. This is what a note from Aaron. I wrote this book for all children like me who develop gender dysphoria as a result of trauma or other underlying issues, who are being denied the support and mental health services they need and deserve. When I was a child, children with gender dysphoria were given support by caring adults and
Thank you,
appropriate.
sir. Thank you.
Leanna Gilland, East Coventry. When I was a child, children with gender dysmorphia were given support by caring adults and appropriate mental health services to help them understand that their difficult feelings were not because they were inherently flawed, but because something is troubling them. These same children are now too often told that as long as they have consistent and persistent feelings of gender dysmorphia, they are actually transgender, and that that the only cure is to disassociate from themselves and create an alternative identity. The treatment for gender dysmorphia children that used to be watchful waiting or talk therapy now involves retarding the child's growth and development with blockers, cross-sex hormones that cause permanent damage to the child's otherwise healthy body, and even surgery that cuts off healthy body parts. In truth, there are no transgender children. There are no transgender children who are born in the wrong body. Those who encourage children to believe that they are transgender are rather than addressing the child's gender dysmorphia, are pushing a belief system that is not based on science, nor is it in the best interest of children. It continues to go on about how they interviewed, but I would just like to say I graduated 5 years ago. Not an issue. I don't know what happened, but it's actually kind of disgusting what I've heard about the bathrooms in this situation. And I know what you guys said it last month, but it's still disgusting. Thank you.
All right. Is there any Zoom comments?
We have one comment at this time. iPhone, if you can please unmute and state your full name and township of residence. You're unmuted.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
This is Carrie Lasmanis from East Coventry Township. I'm actually going to just disregard those last few comments. And I apologize if this has already been answered, but I have a son who's very much interested in starting up a new student activity at the school, which is not really a new student activity. It existed there when I went, and I believe it existed in recent years, which is Amnesty International, which is a human rights, organization that works towards promoting human rights globally. This was a club that has always existed at ONJ Roberts, and I believe it recently had an administrator that was willing, an advisor who was willing to sponsor it. I don't know if it went away because of COVID, but I'm just trying to figure out, if my son was interested in re-implementing this, what would be the protocol to do so? Thanks.
Thank you, Carrie. We can, we'll have someone reach out to you and let you know what the process is there. All right. Is there any other public comment for Ms. Bluth?
Hi, Colleen Blute, North Coventry, East Coventry Township. I have a question on district goal number 2, student well-being. It says, create an environment that fosters the growth and nurturing of all students, physical, mental, and social emotional growth in healthy, safe, and supportive learning environments. My question to you, and I don't need an answer right now, is the social emotional program that you're using at the ONJ Roberts School District research-based, or was it created by the OJR staff? My second question has to do with professional development. And it's priority number, 3, where it talks about Outcomes include increased multi-tiered system of supports, MTSS interventions for students in the areas of English language arts, science, and mathematics. So does that mean or imply that you are not using the IST process? That was my question. Thank you.
Again, we can do that in a follow-up and ask the administration to get back there. All right, item 15, board discussion, follow-up, and requests for information. Any board follow-up on any items or requests for information this time?
Regarding that whole talk with the clubs, if we could just get information about that on board line, and also about advisors, like, are advisors always paid? And if they're not?
No, they're not.
Yeah,
They're not.
so were we just short on volunteers for certain clubs, or what is the procedure if a student can't find an advisor? Any information we can get about that, I'd really appreciate. Also, we talked about Dr. Monahan and the PTO meetings that he's going to. Are we going to get an update from him regarding questions or topics that may have come up at those meetings? Yes.
We're planning that for January.
Okay, great. And then, sorry, I have one more, now I can't find it. Oh, just what Mrs. Blute said about the IST. I listened to all these discussions about MTSS and IST, and I'm unclear of that as well, how IST fits in. I know it's an elementary level program. I don't know, I could use some information on that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other requests for information?
Yeah, I just have a quick question, Dr. Stow. I'm not sure if you can update us on this or not, but I've seen a number of issues cropping up or emails coming into the board about busing issues with respect to long rides to school. Can you give us an update on what we're doing to remedy that situation? I know there's a shortage of bus drivers right now, but just curious to know what our efforts have been on that end.
Sure. Is Mrs. Crummine attending right now? If not, I'll try and answer. Is she still there, Frank? Yeah, so yes, that has been an issue. On a typical day, we're 5 to 6 bus drivers short, and so then we have to scramble. And in those cases, then we have to double up on some bus runs. I know our transportation department is looking at it. I know we're trying to recruit new drivers. Whenever we engage in that process, it takes a while to train new drivers. We're trying to look at other companies to maybe help us with some of our runs, but we are experiencing the same issues that my colleagues in other districts are experiencing. So I don't know if Mrs. Crumrine's there, if she can add anything to it. So Jackie?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Stout. Really, you spoke very well about the efforts that we're undergoing, and we are not the only school district in this position, but we are also working with G&L Transportation to try to speed up the process with which they're hiring new drivers. And it does take about 6 weeks for one driver to go through the process of hiring. We've also contracted with another bus company, CMD, who is supplementing some of our transportation needs. But it has been a challenge this year for all school districts. We are working on it.
All right, I just have one thing I want to turn the tables on the audience here, because I see we have some Boy Scouts in the audience. So I just want to acknowledge them and welcome to the school board. So I guess I take it you guys are working on a badge here? All right. Well, if you guys can sit through a school board meeting, I think you've earned your badge. I'm just saying from here. So, and with that, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all. Have a good night.